This episode of the One Piece podcast is brought to you by Shonen Jump. Sign up today to be a Shonen Jump member and follow along with us. For less than $2 a month, you can read every chapter of One Piece, plus you get access to the entire Shonen Jump digital vault, which includes nearly every Shonen Jump series published in English. Series like My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, Dr. Stone, Dragon Ball Super, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and many, many more. Start your free trial today by going to a special page for One Piece podcast listeners at viz.com/One Piece Podcast. Again, that website is viz.com/One Piece Podcast. Enjoy the show. Episode 609 for the week of Sunday, February 23rd, 2020. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
And on today's show, we have special guest. He's YouTube sensation. His name is Roger of Roger's Base. How's it going, Roger?
It's going good. It's been a little while, and this chapter was absolutely amazing, so I cannot wait to talk about it.
We have even more special guests because from Crunchyroll, he is a senior staff writer over there. He writes all the One Piece stuff. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Dan Dockery is with us. How's it going, Dan?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for asking.
That doesn't sound suspicious at all. And last but certainly not least, it's been a really long time since we've had this individual on the show from Japan. He is the man who writes for the official One Piece website. He has his own column there. And in V-Jump, Trivia Master Greg Werner is with us. How's it going, Greg?
Oh boy, Trivia Master. Now you're going to get me into it. If I stick around for trivia, that's going to be a problem now, because I'm going to lose to all you folks. I have
to find something that is hard enough.
He's absolutely right. You better leave during the trivia.
He's graduated to writing trivia questions. He doesn't answer them.
Yeah,
that's right. We recently did the Knowledge King trivia contest in Japan, and that was fun. I got to write the trivia questions instead of
taking them.
Be the one suffering them.
Well, Greg, you could always give us trivia questions if you want, and then make a fool of me instead. So I'll give you the whole podcast to think about that and see if you have time for it.
I highly suggest it. I recommend it, Greg. It's a lot of fun.
It is. I love it. Joey Weiser hates it. Anyway, we have a really good show for you today.
I meant making fun of Zach. I don't know what.
I get it, Steve. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the hot and spicy chapter 972 of One Piece. The title being "I am Oden and I was born to." Anyone else here?
Boyle. I thought.
Oh,
okay. Our way to make a fool of you. I thought we're all going to scream to Boyle at the same time.
That's what I thought was also going to happen.
Wow. All right. It's fine. Zach and I are on the same wavelength. That's cool.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Kind of hard to do that over Skype, Zach.
Look, don't break the fourth wall here more than it's already been broken. We also are going to have an anime recap for you, pieced together, and a lot more. But before we get started, there has been a decent amount of big news this week. Which, considering Morgan's wasn't in this chapter, is somewhat surprising. And the first big news comes from Crunchyroll. And I know we have had fans out there who've been like, I want to watch the anime. How do I watch the anime legally in my country? Well, finally, it is going to be available in countries including the UK, Ireland, the Nordics, which I guess include all of Scandinavia, the Netherlands, Greece, Turkey, and Poland. Amongst others, I believe. And also will be, I think that's for English, those are the English-speaking territories that they listed. It will also be in Spain. Simulcast episodes will be in Spain, Portugal, Italian-speaking Europe, as well as MENA is the Middle Eastern countries as well.
Middle East and North Africa, so Arabic-speaking countries.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I guess, in Russian, Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese, and German. Is that correct, Ed? I was asking specifically because it seemed that you were
Oh.
up on this.
No, I don't know specifically, but that
okay.
sounds right.
I am translating the languages I think they are because they say it in the respective language what language it's in. So we'll see how right I am. We'll see. So there's that. There's other news that we're going to have some amazing guests, including Roger. Will be back on at the end of March.
That's right.
We March 1st is still tentative, but we will have March 8th. Paula Gatos will be on. Sungwon is coming back on March 15th. Very excited about that. And if his curse is lifted, Henry Thurlow will be on for a manga recap. He's tried twice now, and Oda's been off both times. So we'll see if that actually happens this time. I think that's the bigger news of the week, and it just happened. Oh yeah, Greg, there was also news about that the writer of One Piece is also writing something else.
Yeah, you might have heard of it. I'm not sure if the it's that popular yet, but Star Wars.
We should clarify. This is a writer for the One Piece live action is writing for Disney's Star Wars.
Yes.
I just took it from Greg. He was going to say it.
So no, I prefer this is good. Ed presents this much better than I could, but yes, Matt Owens, the head writer of the One Piece live action series, will evidently be working on a Star Wars movie. It seems people don't know exactly what it is.
What's it about?
It's about the wars that happened among the stars.
What are they going to call it?
Ghostbusters.
He's doing a home movies reference that no one is getting. Clearly.
Thank you. I just wanted Zach to laugh. That's just all.
Yeah, I
so.
found it funny, and that's
You always do, buddy. You always do.
And let's see. I think that's about all we know. We don't know if it's going to be in movie theaters or if it's going to be something for Disney Plus. But at this point, I don't know if you didn't have any confidence in this writer and this up and coming writer, Matt Owens, and his ability. Evidently, Disney trusts him enough to work with Star Wars, which you either love or you hate. You either have lots of confidence now or you're extremely scared. But no, that's something to look forward to.
I don't know. People who work on Disney's Star Wars have a tendency to, directors, writers. Disney has no problem replacing people, as I've seen.
That's true too. Yeah, I think they've been doing good in the television department, but I guess we'll see.
Better than
Mandalorian's been amazing.
Yeah, I love the Mandalorian. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. See, this is interesting. We have here is this like the Clone Wars and all of them seem to be getting high praise, whereas the films are a little bit more iffy with fans. But if this is a Disney Plus thing, then maybe that's an even better sign. Which I don't know. He seems to fit because he has done some television work before in the terms of Luke Cage. But yep, it'd be interesting to see what else he has on the line as well.
The good thing about television is it could fail and it doesn't feel as big, with Star Wars. Like it could be bad, but also who cares? You don't have to watch it.
And also, if it's a huge success, it's only television.
Exactly. There's no highs and no lows.
There's a lose-lose.
TV generation. There's also, I noticed that at that Hello One Piece thing, they have a Mercedes with decorated in One Piece decals they posted on the official One Piece Twitter. That's
right, the Benz, yeah.
Drive up in your Benz, and it's just all in One Piece stuff.
Where is it now? What country? Is that Japan or is it
I think it was Osaka. I think they said. Yeah.
All right.
You guys remember the 1000 Serena? Was it like a Mitsubishi minivan?
Nissan
minivan.
The Frankie Nero?
That thing was great. I would have loved to have had that.
That one was really cool. Yeah, I like that one a lot.
That is like that is the car you pick up the straw hats at soccer practice in.
A few last things before we get started here. First, this episode is sponsored by Viz and Shonen Jump. Check it out at viz.com/One Piece Podcast, and you get a 7-day free trial and access to like 10,000 chapters, including almost 1,000 chapters of One Piece. And also, if you haven't checked out our Patreon, please do at patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. We're going to be putting out a new Crewing Around episode we just recorded before this. and the episode will be titled Steve's Krusty Spin. That's all I got to say about that. So check that out if you can, and if you could hold your stomach together there. And last,
wait a second, screwing around. It sounds like screwing around, but without the S. Did you do that on purpose?
Maybe.
Actually, Jill did that on purpose.
Can't screw around too much.
Yeah, that's the problem. And last but not least, for some reason, I just noticed we were not on iHeartRadio. Well, we are now, so Ed can add that to his list at the end of the show.
I'll see if I remember.
Hey, Zach, we're not on Disney Plus either, so.
Yeah, what the hell is with that? Oh, I've tried, but they're like, what? Who are you? They just keep asking that, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, big chapter this week. Let's get straight into that. This is the manga recap for chapter 972. I am Oden, and I was born to boil. Roger, I was born to...
Boil.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. Well, but you still didn't do it with me, though. So the whole thing. I think just that bit, you just cut the bit out of the episode. I don't think we're going to do it this week.
I thought Zach said born to boil.
Boil?
That's not.
I was born to moil.
God forbid. So this chapter is. I liked it, Greg. It was disturbing on several levels. This chapter is available with all chapters as soon as it comes out in Japan at shonenjump.viz.com and at mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp. This one came out early, and that's why we get such amazing guests this week, because usually Greg and our schedule doesn't really work out so well. So really happy to have him on. But speaking of boiling,
it's the Emperor's birthday.
What's going on?
So
yeah,
lucky.
it is. So yeah. Speaking of boiling, what's happening on the cover of Shonen Jump? What is Luffy boiling?
He is. He's got the cup noodles, and you can actually see a bit of the mystery meat there, right by his collar. And as we learned in the author comments this week, Oda knows what the mystery meat is in cup noodles, but he's not telling. It's interesting, though, according to him.
That just raises further questions. Why would he not say?
It does seem a little strange that this was the cover and the color spread. Not to say I don't like it. I love it, actually. Yeah. But it is weird that it's during the week that Oden is boiling. I mean, I'm sure that must have been on purpose, but it threw me for a loop when I was doing my reaction this morning.
Agreed. I agree. Greg, what do you think of this? Or the whole collaboration?
I don't know. It's hard to beat the what was it, like the Otomo one from years ago.
One?
The Freedom. I think that was the name of it.
That's a good show, but it is a total product placement.
Complete total product placement. But I mean, it's
the movie Freedom, or show. Yeah, that was really beautiful. I agree.
Because those were a series of commercials from ages ago. It just continues the line that cup noodle tie-ups, collaborations, whatever you want to call them, continue to be some of the best promotional material you could possibly enjoy in Japan. And this isn't something that's been recent. This goes back all the way to the 80s. Some of their commercials are just amazing. If you want to have a good time, spend an evening, go to YouTube and search cup noodle commercials of the 80s and 90s, and you'll see some fantastic television. I promise you.
Adding it to my watch later playlist right now.
Yes.
One of my favorite things Greg has ever said is when you come back to the United States, you're like, wow, the commercials here are really so damn boring.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe there's so many side effects to this medication.
Just don't shut up about the side effects. We were watching, my wife and I were watching TV recently, and one of the commercials is, one of the side effects is if you're allergic to the medication that they're recommending. And it's like, what? Why do you even have to say that?
No, if I'm being sold a medication, I want to see at least 7 battleships in space shooting down viruses and shit. Oh wait, are we?
Oh my God.
Are we clean?
I just retweeted a bunch of screenshots from that Freedom OVA, and my favorite one is just the guy with a giant box with cup noodle on the side. Like, we almost forgot the cup noodles, man. Anyway.
Yeah, I love this cover, and I've loved the whole collaboration. And on the back, correct me if I'm wrong here, Greg, there's a version of the Hungry Days Luffy with the same kind of doing the same pose, but a little less messy because Hungry Days Luffy is clean and tidy.
I have no idea because the physical jump is not in my hands, or it is,
okay.
and I just haven't opened it yet.
Okay.
They're kind of stacked up and unopened now. I get them and I pile them up now.
Okay.
My
That's
apartment
fine.
is nothing but jump. My wife is going to kill me.
I feel you. I get to quarantine it in one room now. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I love the font. Joey pointed out that's the favorite. That's his favorite part of this this cover, and it is great to see it in the cup noodle font.
The kerning is weird. Space between letters is weird. Like
That's
the
a
Hungry
word
Days.
for that.
Yes.
Learned a new word today.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we call
No,
kemming. Kemming is improper kerning.
No idea
Type it
what's
out.
happening
You
right
type
now.
it out. You'll laugh. I swear to
No,
God.
no.
Okay, never.
Are you talking about the color spread or the cover, Ed?
No, the color spread. With the
Oh.
Hungry Days has sort of got the wide. It's got the extra space between letters.
No, I was talking about the cover One Piece font, which is the same font as the cup noodles. But let's talk about the color spread too. If people have thoughts on this one, especially after the last collaboration.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it would be more like remember the Toshio Asakuma crossover with the animals in there. It was more of a dynamic image than this is, with half of the cup noodle characters in the background and sort of in except for Luffy, and they're just sort of standing there. But I mean, it's
They're
still
not interacting.
it's still nice. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's still nice. I liked all the ads, so it's just sort of a nice capper on the whole thing.
Yeah.
More and more, I really appreciate Hungry Days Frankie. I think that's one of the best designs. He looks like Space Dandy. It's like a buffer.
He
Space
does a
Dandy.
little bit. I never would have
Yeah.
put that together, but he does.
I really like it a lot. So, but
As he should.
yeah, these were great commercials. Hate to see him go, but best to burn out and fade away. So
I'm curious, what was everybody's favorites of the Hungry Days commercials? Because I loved the Vivi one, but I think my favorite one has to be Marineford.
No, I think the Vivi one actually.
I guess the
does
Nami one was pretty damn good, and the Zoro.
does the
one.
Bump of Chicken music video count? Because that one was pretty good.
Yeah. That was the highlight, I thought.
I mean, that had everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
I know.
something weird?
What?
Maybe not unexpected. I haven't seen all of them. I saw like the first one, and that's about it.
Well,
Is
go
that-
and do that
Is that
right
surprising? Or
Like-
You
like,
got to get on that.
Yeah, they like
I'm going to watch later playlist of Cup Noodles commercials from the 80s and 90s. You need to, at the very least, watch the One Piece ones.
so I think I was waiting for them all to like finish up so I could digest them all, digest all at once. But
I don't think there's that many because I think there's the Zoro one,
Zoro,
the
Nami,
Vivi,
Vivi,
and Marineford.
Marineford.
Yeah.
There's only 4.
Mhm.
That's a shame.
There's 4 and the music video. Yeah, which is I think that's like 2.5 minutes. That one's long.
Yeah, it's not even really a commercial. It's just like a full-on music video.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think that's
Yeah.
all there is to it. Yeah. I like that style. I like how it's a completely different take on One Piece and yet is so true to One Piece. Anyway,
Have you seen like the hidden stuff in there? By the way, this is
Yeah.
the one thing that I did get into. Like it is
Good.
deep. Like where is Nami's log pose hidden? And like you need
Yeah.
to go through and like count things and be like, oh, and then it ends up being, well, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but like it's deep. Like some of these hidden stuff in there is amazing. I don't know how they did that.
that's my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite part of these is that they had you could see Ace's Vivre card as like his signboard slowly fading away in the commercials apparently. So they put a lot of love and care into it, definitely. Any other hungry thoughts before we get into making our Oden? That's the last joke.
They're
I'll make,
good.
I promise.
They are good.
Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
Okay, Ed, what's going on the first page?
Sure. All right. So we start up, and I just want to say up front that I take back my Shinobu slander. She's very good. She's a very good girl. I don't think she betrayed them. So anyway, starting
Yeah,
off. The feckless citizens of Wano are they're shocked to learn that Lord Oden has been keeping them safe all this time, and they express a common feeling that you can't just reveal all this stuff right now. Yeah, I've already made up my mind. This is inconvenient for me. It's too much for my emotions to process. But the Oni Wabanshu surround her, and they say that the truth will only cause confusion, Shinobu. All they need to know is that the fool of a lord who defied the shogun will die. The execution will eventually finish, and that will be the lasting message. They grab her by the wrist. Fukurokuju does. He says that, I'm sure you knew that speaking up would come at a great cost. And she says, I've decided to join my fate to theirs, life or death. I am Odin's vassal. I will not follow you. If anything should happen to them, then I will die along with Kozuki. So she's taken her stand.
We go to the next page, and she tries to, or I think she does, pull who I'm calling Raspberry's wrist off, Strawberry's brother Raspberry, off of her, what do you call it, cowl, cape, whatever it is. She says, it won't come to that, we'll all survive and we'll strike you down, and you just get the biggest troll face here, and he just replies, Fukurokuju just replies, in your dreams. Which, as Steve, as an inside joke, I guess, as Steve said, oh, I'll never forget that panel, and Steven just sent him this one, which, the iconic panel of the chapter, obviously. Anyway, everyone else here saying, Shogun Orochi, please stop this execution. I beg of you, I beseech you, and here come the poison arrows. They're not going to get very far with those, please. As Orochi sits there, he's like, just ellipses there as you hear ahs and eeks. And so this Oda box says the crowd instantly understood that the threat a madman bent on revenge posed to them. They realized that the man undergoing the extended execution, Oden, that they'd been watching was in fact the one shining hope for Wano. The people suddenly noticed they were surrounded by Kaido and Orochi's men bristling with weapons, and the reason for Oden's 5-year stretch of odd behavior spread throughout the crowd like wildfire and spurred the people into motion. So what's happening during this little Oda monologue, I don't know what you want to call it, Orochi telling everyone to just shut up, saying silence, trash. Oden suffering still in this oil. This is the second chapter he has been doing this. While Cat Viper just peers off the edge to the side, and a cool wide shot of the crowd here watching this all going down, and one guy realizing that they all look so stupid now. And Greg, what happens on the next page?
This news gets shot out like an arrow, and it's a very quick Oda explanation here for how the word is for how the dramatic tension is able to be carried across to events at Curry Castle simultaneously. So while this is happening, this information is being passed. Maybe this will help explain how some of the information is being passed around in modern day.
I think they have the video transponder snails and something
beyond just the snails, because they're called something a little bit different, right? I forget what they're called, like the mosh or the smosh or something, and it's a joke on an old term, but Stephen could answer that better than I could. But the letter arrows carry the message about what's going on, and people at Curry Castle are instantly informed about what's going on. So, we have dramatic tension going on everywhere. The boiling oil in the pot is past 100 degrees, and it continues to rise. And people are asking, Oden, please survive this. And
I think that's 700. Is that 100 or 700?
I can't see.
I guess 100 would probably make more sense, right? If it's boiling.
I mean, it looks like 700 to me.
Looks like 700 when I zoom in. Yep. Okay. So it's 700 degrees. Technically, yeah, he should be on fire and dying horribly. But he's not. So that's great, Oden. You're super. We're sorry for insulting you. We were ignorant. We're not worthy. And oh, now they care, right? Sure. And isn't this awkward this entire time for the samurai, the retainers, having to sit there and just be like, "You guys suck," and the guy under us is saving our asses, and we really can't do anything but sit here and watch him suffer.
They're shackled, so they don't have much choice.
Oh no, yeah, they don't have much choice, but like it's just kind of like sad for them to have to experience all this.
That's true.
And now Oden starts to get up and he starts talking. He's I want you to listen to me. If I manage to survive this boiling, I want this country to be opened. Zach, how long ago was it that I said that like the Wano arc is going to be about opening Wano? It's on this very podcast.
I think it was 864. It was X Marks the Spot is the episode for anyone looking. Greg said that.
The fact that you know that is amazing. But I feel yeah.
Amazing.
That's the square.
So, and Orochi, what's he babbling about? And we come back to the retainers, and you said that before, my lord, that the Kozuki clan had something to do with our closed policy. And what did you learn out there in the world, in the Great Wide Sea? And we get a little bit of a teaser here. Long, long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the ones responsible for closing this nation to the rest of the world were the Kozuki clan. What? Mic drop. What? Oh my God. But it was to protect Wano from a great external power. Oh, okay. All right. So the people of Kozuki, the Kozuki clan, have traditionally been the ones to protect Wano. And now he's going to continue what he says in the next page.
Yeah. So on the next page, he says, Wano, no, the entire world awaits a figure. And when that figure appears after an 800-year span, this country must be prepared to welcome and work with them. And also, real quick, I just got to point out maybe one of the weirdest Panda Man placements in the history of One Piece. Directly under this epic speech, you see Panda Man in the bottom left corner giving a little bit of a peace sign, which I just think is really cute. Oden continues on and says, I will be clear with you. They're going to kill me today, as he's still huffing and puffing. And Kiku says, no, you can withstand the boiling. You're already a third of the way through. But he clarifies once again, I want you to open up Wano in my stead. So we see Denjiro is about to start talking and says that we should join Lord Oden in what I presume is him saying we should join him in death. But Raizo slaps his hand over Denjiro's face and says, your dream is our dream. And we get this great shot of Oden sitting still in the boiler, holding them up saying, well said. And the clock continues to tick down, 30 minutes left. At this point, apparently the hell was at a point where even the heat haze was lethal. And Orochi's still blown away by this, saying, how is he still alive? Raise the heat. At this point, the oil has begun to burn Oden's skin, but Oden is still not dead. And they begin the countdown again. 10 more minutes, 5 minutes, eventually to 1 minute, 10 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second. And finally, you see Orochi shocked by the fact that it seems that Oden has actually survived, and he's managed to stay in the oil for the full hour.
And the clock strikes midnight. No, it strikes the beginning of the hour anyway. And a young Anakin Skywalker yells out, "Yippee! It's a miracle!" But the people rejoice. He survived the execution. Lord Oden did it. The people cheer and they raw. He was able to survive the boiling. Shinobu cries, thank goodness. And the rest of the Akazaya 9 are like, he's won, he's done it. As we see a close-up of Oden's face, the blood pouring down from his forehead. As they say, he cleared up the misunderstanding. And he has the country on his side once again. You're in for it now, Kaido, as Kaido just beams at Oden. And obviously that was Cat Viper, because then we have Dogstorm saying, like, don't wind him up, Cat. And Cat Viper's like, why shouldn't I? A win's a win. The cheers become gasps and murmurs as Kaido and Orochi's men point rifles at Oden Akazaya 9. And Orochi says he has altered the deal. He changed his mind last second. The sentence is now death by firing squad as of 1 minute ago. And the entire clan as well. Mwahahahahaha. That's an evil laugh. And this is oh god, what's his name again? All pinky here. Ashura? Yeah.
Ashura Doji.
I just have to remember Zoro's
Shutzenmaru
technique.
is the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he says, like, what kind of nonsense is this? And this guy barely gets his sentence out. He gets shot within the same panel. He says, like that wasn't part of the deal. Odin said and he gets shot. They're continuing the fire on the people as they were at the beginning of this chapter. And Odin says, do it for me. Open Wano's borders, he shouts as we get a close up of his eyes glaring as we go to the next page.
And so Odin overhead tosses everyone over his head. Imagine it going in slow motion. They hit the ground. Run! Kinemon says, to Curry. Shinobu is heading off. Kinemon again says, don't turn back. As tears, for lack of a better term, splurge from his eyes. Then we get the almighty flashback from Odin, saying that was a fascinating story you just said. Kazuki Odin? Lord Odin. As we're seeing everybody start to remember the time that they first met Lord Odin. Then we go back to the present day. We see Kaido and Orochi's henchmen saying, shoot them all! After them! White out the name of Kazuki! I am imagining this is going to have very, very dramatic music in the anime. Then we go back to Kaido saying, either way, your body is already dead. I'll do you a kindness and push you out of your misery. And now, the age of Kazuki is over for good. You all die. And then Odin's are saying, don't make the mistake of underestimating our samurai. And then we move back to Shinobu out Lord Odin.
I think it's Kiku, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I like that close-up of his face there. So we get the Kiku flashback. This whole double page is all flashbacks. And Kiku taking Odin's, his Odin. Yeah, that's our pot of Odin. And he's just, that's her earliest memory of him. She crying in Kandro, and Kandro, I like the idea of him being, the little freak who makes brushes with human hair. That's just his whole backstory. That's the little freak.
You don't tug on Superman's cape, and you don't eat Odin's Odin.
Right. Yeah.
It's easy to remember.
And you don't eat Odin's hair either, or use Odin's hair for a brush or whatever. Yeah.
We get the meeting of Odin and Raizo, which is I was rereading some of this earlier today, and it was funny to me that Raizo is just this ninja that Odin knew from when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's you.
That's just Raizo.
Yeah, exactly. I like he's got the crying voice.
Notice Ed Raizo has different footstep sounds than the others.
Really? Oh, yeah, of course. Makes sense. Nice.
Because he's a ninja. Nin.
Versus Ashura Doji, who's blam, 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 I'm guessing.
Yeah. He's sort of a onigiri man.
Oh my god, he is. I never put that together.
So when we get the introduction of Cat Viper, Dogstorm, and Kawamatsu, and you get Odin with his line of shame on all of you. Your fear of the alien exposes your own ignorance. And Kawamatsu, Dogstorm, and we get the cat. They're all running away.
That's probably one of my favorite lines of his. I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. And we get Odin being lousy, sort of a lousy lord. He's like, I'm so hungry. Yeah, well, we don't have any money because you gave all our money away. That's come on. Denjiro it's like reminding him, yeah, you did this. So yeah, well, go steal some food then. What kind of daimyo are you anyway? Everyone, the whole building laughs. And this flashback within a flashback sort of comes back to the current part of the flashback where Kaido is saying they will speak of you for years to come, saying that you died a spectacular death. And Odin, he's contemplating We see him
while he's on fire.
Yeah, 3 ellipses while he's completely burnt. His body is like completely like blackened from the oil. And you see it from behind actually. So we're sort of seeing Kaido off in the distance.
I could see Orochi making really bad jokes with Kaido. It's like, oh, how do you like your Oden? Well done.
Scrambled with onions in it. That's how I like it.
I was saying it must really suck to die the way that your name it suggests. But
Right.
a lot of jokes could be had in your experience.
I don't want to be Steve to death.
All right, who's next?
That would be me. And Oden says, they can forget me for all I care. My soul will live on. I think all the Kias and Blams, that's still like the men chasing after Akazaya 9. Kaido draws his weapon and he says, I'm sorry about what happened with the old hag. I had her killed. Oden responds, oh, how upright of you. But build your strength while you can. And obviously, just to clear the air, I think people were asking online, but it's clearly the Aunt Clay. I forget what her name was.
Aunt Clay.
That's how I remember.
Kurozumi, whatever her name was, the old lady.
Kyo, something like it was like her laugh was.
It was her laugh.
Higurashi.
Her laugh was her name,
Higurashi.
right?
Higurashi. They're the two of them are the names of cicadas in Japan.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Does that mean she like laughs like a cicada? It's like ree, ree, ree. She sounds like the beginning of an anime episode.
She's that annoying thing in the background that just sucks up all.
Shinji's just trying to make a phone call. He's like, "Oh boy, I wish that phone would shut up." But back to the story here. I cut off Oden from the middle of his speech. He says, "For I am a story to accompany your drinks." What a hell of a line. Put that on your business cards, everybody.
I love the hell out of that line. Yeah.
You put that on your profile. Says I am a story to accompany your drinks. I am Oden. And I'll get to his inner monologue here as he thinks of Toki, Momonosuke, Hiyori. I shall be the first to leave. He says, I am Oden and I was born. Blam. Shot right in the head as the camera pulls out here. And this is I should mention, he's doing a very Kabuki-esque pose. And it's way more obvious here in this panel. Couldn't help but think of the anime version of Bellamir's death, where it's just solid black silhouettes, and we just see the path of the bullet through the head. And,
so I'm curious, if Belmare went to the dungeon, like what would be the 4Kids version of Oden's death?
To cold storage, so they could eat this Oden later, so they could eat their tomato soup later.
That's somehow more gruesome than what actually happens.
Yeah,
It's like that Patton Oswalt bit about cleaned up dirty jokes. It's like somehow when you make it that he survives, it's worse.
He's just in here for a heavy exfoliation. That's all.
Well, if we're doing the 4Kids bit, I would think, because like one of the big things was like, oh well, so how come they never rescued Bellamere from the dungeon? So like if Oden survived but he was just frozen in tomato soup, with this arc end, it's like, oh well, we might as well bring Oden back to life. And then they check the expiration date. It's like, this soup is long.
Soup has gone bad. This Oden has gone bad.
Whack-a-doo, smack-a-doo-doo.
I imagine Oden like being named Tomato Soup. He's like, I am Tomato Soup, and I was born, boom boom, to be canned. Like,
oh my God, Roger, you hit it on the head. That is exactly what 4Kids would do.
They're not making smileys. They're just making freaking SpaghettiOs.
My name is Campbell's, and I was born.
I was born to soup.
I was born to soup.
No. If it was SpaghettiOs, you'd call them Doflamingos, because he's the pusher, he's the dealer.
I could hear like 2/3 of the people listening yelling at us right now. Steve,
I know. I want to give this like the big emotional gut punch of this, like an actual, I want to give it some.
We'll talk about it in full at the end. Yeah,
I apologize for that. That just snowballed there. But Odin is shot right in the head, and just sploosh just so unceremoniously falls into the into the oil, and he was cut off. He was about to say his lines like, "I am Odin, and I was born." But the people of Wano, they take a big deep breath and they all yell, tears pouring down their eyes, "To boil!" As the sound of that roar, that crowd just is heard throughout the flower capital, and we hear the bang bang of the instrument,
Shabbos.
the shamisen, which is very synonymous with acts beginning and ending in this arc. But the bang bang just echoes throughout these remaining panels as the people in the crowd cry. The shamisen players, they're playing almost unbeknownst to what true horrors are happening out there. But as we see deep in this oil, Odin died smiling with a big toothy grin that kind of looks like a letter of the alphabet, to humor some of those theories out there. And we pull away from the flower capital as the narration begins, and so ended one legend.
And the narration continues on the next page to be carried on by the players of the next stage. And we go to that next stage as we see the Curry Castle, Oden Castle, as it's also been called. And inside, the retainer for the Kozukis comes and says, "My lady, I've received word of Lord Odin's death. They say it was a tremendous end." And we go back to a story device we haven't seen since the Roger Whitebeard stuff, basically, and the end of Odin's journal, where he says, or at least a letter to Odin, to Toki, where he tells his wife that he has reached his limit. If I fail to defeat him, Kaido, there will be no others who could stop him for a long time. Over 20 years ahead of us, there will likely be a massive war, terrible events, terrible enough to split the seas themselves. In other words, in another 20 years, the primary figures of this great war will muscle their way into the new world. They are the ones who can strike down Kaido. And here we see everything from the retainer to Odin in the past, obviously, here, holding the letter that he has written here, and then Toki finding the letter, or at least reading the letter. And she reads it as she walks by a crying Momonosuke and a drooling Hiyori, with what I assume are toys in the foreground. As she walks past, she continues to read that a long winter will settle over Wano. I want you to use your power, Toki, if I should die. And literally the panel is ripped as Toki, who appears to be shaking here, rips up the letter, not reading further. And we get a quick flashback here of Toki getting the two swords from Odin, who asks them to give them to the children, which she responds, "Sounds dangerous. I don't know." And Odin says, "Aren't you sad? It's a death sentence." And she just replies, "Who said you were gonna die?" And he laughs, "That's my wife." Wahaha. And she says here in the past present, "I'd be a laughing stock if anyone saw me crying. We are not your weakness. Look ahead, Odin, to 20 years in the future." And we learn that the story will hurtle toward the present day as we reach the final chapters of this, the officially record-breaking flashback here.
It's not over. It's still going.
It's not over. Yeah, we're at a little over 13 chapters, and I think the longest before this was like 8 or 9.
Man,
so yeah, we're well beyond. We're
oddly enough, wasn't it the Skypea one?
No, it was a few of them were tied. I have a spreadsheet about this because, of course, I have a spreadsheet about this. Yeah, this is me.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be. So the longest ones so far have all been 8 chapters. They've all been exactly the same. Nolan and Kagura were 8. The Robin flashback in Enies Lobby was 8. Luffy's flashback at the end of the Paramount War was 8. The Fisher Tiger Otohime flashback was also 8 chapters. Yeah, and this has been 13 and a quarter so far. So take that as you will.
So this is definitely going to be a full volume then of just flashback.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so. When did the last volume? Well, I have it right here.
I don't think we've ever had a volume more than 12 chapters.
Well, okay, so I think there's 2 chapters of flashbacks. It ends at 63. So then this would go from 64 to 74. So it might not be. It might have a little present day depending on what happens in the next 2 chapters. Because it should be 64 to 73, 74, something like that. Anyway, we should talk about this chapter. Greg, I'd be remiss if I did not start with you and your thoughts on this chapter.
So I think it's been a long time since we last spoke, and I've kind of missed the train of thought of the. I don't know if it's the general public or maybe it's your followers or not. I don't know, but what I gained from Twitter at least is there seems to be this up down around Oden, and it's really hard to get a gauge on whether viewers like him or whether they don't like him. I hear the word Chad being thrown around a lot, and I don't know. I've never throughout this entire flashback, I've never caught wind of anything that put him in a how can I don't want to say negative, but that put him in a scenario that I wasn't willing to suspend my belief about, where I thought, oh, this guy is a nasty guy or he's a really good guy. I was along for the ride the entire time. I kept my mind open, and through all of that, I was able to see. I don't want to say with unclouded eyes. It sounds too dramatic, but like. Just taking a step back with no expectations for how this character was going to be portrayed by Oda. And I've been completely satisfied by all of this all the way through. What a great meal this Oden has been. Starting out with the intimation, he's this ruffian, he's this like stallion. He thinks himself so highly of himself. And as you go through this little arc here, you find out that he always does the right thing, and he doesn't care what anybody else thinks about him, or whether it's the right thing or not. He just does what he thinks is the right thing, and he steamrolls through it. I wrote an entire article about how he and Luffy are so similar that it gives me pause for wondering what this means about the world for One Piece and being reborn or the spirit and what the will of D is. Like, how is this person not a D? How is Kozuki not a D? Or are they? Is that somehow hidden in there? Do they have some relation to this family or to this line at least? I just coming out of this chapter, especially with that smile. I mean, he's got the smile that looks like almost like a Luffy smile, the Roger smile. We see all of them smile this way. And that's just another point of how closely he seems connected to all of these characters who are central to our current day series. What did the Kozuki clan know about the past? How were they able to know that it was necessary for Wano to be closed? Again, these are more questions that are being raised along with Oda answering some others as well. But what a satisfying journey. People, Oden he was hyped too much, or he was this or that. Can anybody help me out here? I mean, where was this? I don't get the negativity towards him. Can somebody help me here, please? I'm struggling.
I mean, my audience loves Oden, but I've seen a lot of other YouTubers and content creators talking about him where they didn't like the way that the flashback sort of concluded. Not necessarily this chapter, but a couple chapters ago with like the Oden and Kaido fight. I think the main complaints come more from the pacing based on what I've seen than the character of Oden himself. I think some people do have issues with things Oden did in the beginning, like the kidnapping of women and things like that. But I think on the whole, it really just was like the length of the flashback and people, I feel, being away from Luffy and being away from like the main cast of characters. Of course, no one was complaining during the weeks in which it was Oden and Roger and Whitebeard. I think it was more when it was focused on Wano and then his choices to sort of dance to protect his country, and how easily it seemed that was sort of resolved during that Kaido Oden confrontation. But yeah, on the whole, I mean, I like Oden, so I like the way this flashback is wrapped up.
See, just as you're mentioning here, what individuals seem to like and what they didn't like, I've seen both camps, and their feet are firmly planted in the ground on how they
totally,
feel.
Totally.
And,
yeah, you either really like him or you don't.
There seems to be no consensus here. You know, people love the Roger stuff. Well, I was assaulted by people who are like, oh, the Roger stuff ruined it. They shouldn't have done all that. People,
you are right that the fan. I sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, by all means.
No, you were right that the fan base. I think one of the. I don't want to say one of the rare times, but one of the situations in which it is a really love him or really hate him scenario. Like, I feel like I haven't seen. Dressrosa might be like the closest kind of One Piece conceptual thing that people have such a strong opinion about one way or the other. That's like the closest thing I could think of, because there definitely is there are definitely groups of people who don't. And so for me, I wanted to understand. So Steve and I were talking a little bit earlier, and I kind of felt slightly numb to the big emotional punch of this chapter. Not that I did not enjoy this chapter. I thought it was great. I'll talk about that more after. But having read through it all, I think the problem... I'm going to be one of those people who fall in the middle, because I think the problem wasn't really in the story, but kind of how it was presented. I think... I like everything that happened for the most part, but I think the Roger stuff kind of does interrupt the flow and the emotional elements of Oden's story. For me, the closeness between Oden and his vassals is really it's the main through line. It's supposed to be the heart of this story. It's what we're, when we are taken away to finally hear about Oden after hearing about him for so long, in the present day. It's through the samurai, the Akazaya 9, being put through their worst situation. And that's what brings us here. And the fact of the matter is, there was not really, I think Oda ended up focusing a little too much on the stuff that, let's be frank, I really like. I really love the Roger shit. But by focusing on that, I think it took a lot away from what was supposed to be the main emotional through line. That's I think my negative critique on it, Greg.
And I
don't know if that clears
here.
anything up.
This is it. It helps me see that particular point of view, but other people have approached me with that as well, and I understand it. But that chapter where they basically devote their lives to him, where they say that, hey, we're going to throw away our lives, we're going to get educated, and it's a montage scene, and they end up walking into town in that grand fashion, where they are quote unquote samurai for the very first time. That chapter was all I needed for that. We've spent so much time with Kinemon, so much time with Kanjuro, that we know that they are devoted to him. We've seen specific reasons for why Kinemon is devoted to him. We've seen the moment that kind of clicked in his mind. In addition to the moment where not only were Oden saved him for the first time, but where he made that decision to change his life, to be a better person, to basically be a better person for the sake of Oden, to help Oden. Because Oden is, like Luffy, is not a perfect person. He needs help. He can't do everything. He's strong as hell, and he's a spirit that doesn't budge like Luffy. But there's many things he doesn't know, and that chapter, and just how they address him, how they change their entire outlook on life, That was all I needed for that. For me personally, I don't know if that's a cultural
I'm actually
thing or
in
what,
complete agreement with you, but that one thing in particular, my audience completely disagreed with me, and they thought we needed more time with like all the different retainers. But I am right there with you. I feel like that one chapter was really all that we needed, especially knowing. I mean, there's still so many questions to be answered after all of this. Like, we still don't know what happened to Toki. We still don't know what happened to Denjiro. We still don't really fully know Kaido's motivations. And so I think like that stuff could be answered maybe in another flashback throughout Act 4. Maybe that's more focused on Kaido's side of things. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel like the retainer stuff was fine in just one chapter.
Yeah, I'm not upset at these individuals. It's just I'd like to be able to
I understand
to hear a critique and go through it and say,
yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Well, this happened for this reason. Well, we didn't like it because of this. Okay, and that happened for this reason. Well, we didn't like it. Well, that's because of this. It's just like, what does everyone expect, or what are they looking for? Well, we want more time with the Akazaya 9.
I mean, so you're just, this is more of like the issue I have with the pacing. Okay. And it's, I don't think, I agree with you that I think that chapter does a really good job. I mean, we're just talking me right now. We're not talking about the internet. We'll talk about the internet in a moment. But for me, I think leaving Wano, which I understand is a super important part of the story, and it's not that I didn't like that part of the story, but I think that kind of cuts that thread that you kind of forget about it. And also, and this is kind of hooking into, I think, what a lot of internet critique goes toward with Oden, beyond the sexist potential stuff that comes out of the kidnapping women, which we could talk
can I stop you just for a second there?
Yeah.
Just really quickly, that is major point, huge point, totally respect it. But like the very first chapter, the very first mini story that he's involved in, as we see, there's an aura around Oden that he's done all these horrible things. Right. And as it turns out, most of the things that he's done, he ends up looking like a fool, or he ends up looking terrible, or that he's done something horrible. But there's a second side to that story. The good thing about Oden is he doesn't give two Fs about clarifying that part of the story. He simply wants to do the right thing. And if he does it, boom, he's gone. He's out. Okay, I did it. We're safe. Great. And I get a feeling that that's exactly what Oda's trying to say. Hey, look, he's done this. He's done this. He's done this. He looks horrible. And if you judge him on that hearsay alone, you're basically the same as the people of Wano.
And I think this fits into your point as well. But I think the major critique, or the biggest critique that I've seen, or I don't know, one of them, I am not so steeped into it, but is that he kind of abandons his family for his ambition. So I posted a whole thread on this today on Twitter if people want to see. Like, for me, I completely agree, Greg. I think he presents a really interesting kind of dichotomous look at what a hero is in reality and what a folk hero is to the people. And that's why I think he's a really interesting character. I think Oden has done some really shitty stuff, but okay. Not only does he not need to clarify that, but the person he's based off of, in a large part, I think Goemon, in large part, not the Lupin the Third character. There are two stories from my minimal research on him. There are stories of him being the good guy, the Robin Hood of Japan, the upstanding guy who'll go and protect women. And then there are also stories about him literally murdering people and stealing wives and like lots of really bad shit. And I think the whole idea that a folk hero could both represent something amazing and also have checkered pasts and be willing to grow even without realizing that he's willing to grow, which is, I kind of think that's why I really like that chapter with him and his retainers, Greg. I think that is such a cool take on it. That's what I enjoyed. And that's what I kind of thought that the Roger stuff kind of broke up. That was where my personal critique was. But I still think he did a good job at doing that personally. The internet obviously has varied theories on it. I'll stop talking there.
On the side of pacing, I think the other big thing too is again, I had no issue with like them putting all of the retainer stuff in one chapter. But when we are just coming off Whole Cake Island, where there's like chapters dedicated to these Charlotte family members that really like boil down to, oh, this is like the next objective to get to Big Mom. I think there were a lot of people who actually really enjoyed that, but I was somebody who personally did not enjoy that about the second half of Whole Cake Island and felt like it was really too slowly paced, and that it felt like almost we were waiting to get to like that next 100 chapter mark for that big reveal for the Bad End musical. And so for me, I appreciated the quicker pacing, but I do think that coming off of that and then going into this is another reason why the response is so mixed.
Okay, two points. I'd like to address here. First on Oden leaving, and then on what you just brought up, Roger, about the pacing. So, or should I do it in reverse? Let's do pacing. With pacing, man, I don't know if this is a thing with newer fans or younger fans, but every chapter that Oda spends away from Luffy, he despises. He wants Luffy to be at the center of the series at all times. Whenever he's away from Luffy, all he wants to do is to rush to get back. And he wants his fans to feel that way too. You have no idea how much he wants Luffy to be loved by people, to be an attraction at the heart of this series. And so to go into especially a flashback where Luffy is not the main story, and to be able to spend this amount of time, this record-breaking amount of time in a story away from Luffy, shows you that not only is it breaking Oda's heart to be spending time here, but from week to week, he's also trying to play that difficult balancing act of giving you entertainment that he feels would be the thing, exactly what you want to read. So it's back and forth all the time. Balance. I want to get back to Luffy, but I want to please my readers. I want them to be happy. And then we get something like this, which is, we're going into this, and I guess I'll go into speaking about his leaving his family, is that, okay, so he did leave his family, but we should have been ready for that. We know that he was going to do something like that because he did travel with Roger. Okay, so why did he, quote unquote, abandon them? Is because he felt that something was wrong in the world, that he was missing something, that this whole travel, in his journeys with Whitebeard and the start of the journey with Roger, he began to realize that there's something bigger here. It's not just about seeing the world. He felt that there was something strange going on, and Luffy has not felt this, and Luffy doesn't care. And I hope that he never cares, because it's against Luffy too. And this is the biggest difference between these two characters, is that Oden started to care about the world, whereas Luffy just cares about his adventure, being free, and his friends. And at that point, I think Oden sat down or made a hard decision, is that, look, I know things are hard. I know you're suffering. But what I'm doing right now is, in a very roundabout way, for you and for our future. Sayonara. And he headed out to sea. Okay. Whew, I'll stop there.
Can you say that's tied into opening the borders of Wano? Like, Oden wanted to understand the rest of the worlds and what he was like, whether or not he was willing to open up his country to that?
Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I mean, that might be part of it, but I don't feel that was the main motivation, so much as he began to feel that something was off in the world, that Steve, something was strange.
I'd say I think that's the result, because when they leave Laugh Tale, like both Roger and Oden, realize like, oh, you got to get back to Wano. That becomes the next big thing they have to do. And I don't even think it's just because that's where he's from. I think, now he has a mission. And I think I completely agree with Greg. I think that's a really cool part of his character.
Yeah.
I'm trying to observe everything, because I'm kind of with Zach. I'm lukewarm on Oden. And kind of off topic, but in terms of like getting emotional reading One Piece, I don't tend to do that as often as I do when it comes to the anime, because it's just that little touch of background music really makes or breaks a scene for me.
Yeah.
But Oden, as far as I know, and I don't want to. I'm guessing this flashback is ending. Because when you end the chapter saying like, oh, now we go back to the present, I don't know if we're going to wrap things up before we jump back. There's so much left to be told. I'm wondering if we're getting like another flashback later on. This is almost like a Dressrosa thing with Hiyori. So I'm gonna save my comments on Toki. Toki's the wife, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna save my
Hiyori's
comments
the
on
daughter.
Yeah, the daughter. I'm gonna save my comments on Toki for now. But in terms of like Oden, I think because I haven't been on the podcast in like almost a month, so I haven't really commented on a bunch of these chapters. I felt the blackmail thing with Orochi and Oden to be very underwhelming. It was the most, like, when you think of like of all the possible scenarios, it winds up being the simplest answer. Because
Yeah.
I was a little bit frustrated. I was like, how did he not talk to anybody about this? Like, yes, like he was gonna. He did what he did to save his people, but at least like I cannot believe even his like wife. He's like, can you believe what they're doing to like the people of Wano? They're selling them off. Like he didn't tell anybody, and I felt like it was. I mean, I guess it shows what kind of charismatic leader he became. But like when even the Akazaya 9 didn't even question the dancing, like, oh, you're just silly. It's not even like Nami's flashback where the villagers on Kokoyashi reveal, like, oh no, we knew all along, but we had to play along for your sake. I gotta admit, like, I'm a little bit disappointed with that fallout. In terms of Oden, because I'm more aware that opinions on him are polarizing. I guess like I think Greg has made some really good arguments. And honestly, for the sake of the story, yes, Oden had to leave his family and go on this adventure because the story of One Piece is far bigger than Oden's home life.
No, the story of One Piece is a story of fathers abandoning their families.
For better or for worse.
Exactly. That's, you can't, like, if you have the spirit of adventure, I mean, your family will suffer. Like, that's
I
not
mean,
your first
Oda.
priority.
What did Oda say? Mothers are the antithesis of adventure. I think what he meant there, less than a statement on moms, is more that if you're going to stay home with your parents, you're not going to have an adventure. You have to go out in the world and do the thing that you need to do or want to do. I mean, I agree with Ed.
I will save my opinions on Toki until maybe until Wano's done.
I wasn't even saying that as like a Toki thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think it's that you have to abandon everything and be willing to go do the thing that you feel like you need to do or want to do. I think that's Oda's spirit. That's why Oden is so similar to Luffy. He's just like, I'm going to do the thing I want to do.
You're talking to like a couple transplants living in Los Angeles now, so
I know exactly. Yeah, you guys are the living example of
right.
Oda's wishes. Yeah, go you and Roger. Yeah. And Greg, look at him.
And Greg,
Yeah, totally. He's
Greg
in
is like
Japan.
Greg is the extreme difficult version of our story.
I'm the easy version.
All I'll say is with Oden, like, I get he's like his whole thing is based off of Goemon, and I think that's great. Some things in legends and folk tales don't hold up too well. Was Oden kidnapping women like necessary for the story? I don't think so. I don't think you had to include it. I think Oda's been much worse to women in this manga, but I'm not saying like, hey, he's done worse, so lay off of him. No, I don't think that was a good part of the story, but I knew Oda's intentions. Oda's intentions, like, oh yeah, he's I'm forgetting the term here, but basically he's the town drunk. He's like everyone like despises him or is annoyed with him because he stumbles into town and he causes chaos. I remember that initial chapter with him when he was like eating Oden on top of his old buddy's like burning corpse. It was Oda meant to show how over the top he is and just how much of a mess he is.
Over the top.
Yeah. Oh, now we know why we picked that's the song. Oh, that makes sense. Just saying, like, I personally think it didn't need to be included. I'm not the person here to say that it had to be included, but I don't know. That feels a little bit of both. I'm just saying, I think he could have nixed that. I don't think it was necessary. And I'll just leave it at that.
I think it makes him look like a bad person, which it should. He should look like this scary, like, what is this guy? What is this problem? And, for Oda to go through each point and say, like, well, he was actually saving these people from a, abusive relationship, or he was actually feeding people. He was feeding starving children with those rabbits that he killed, or blah. But I think that's what he's inferring, is that, with all of these acts and these things that the people hear about him, there is another side to it. And we see the result of what happens when they see the other side for the very first time. I mean, they were happy to see him. Yes, they were like, "Oh, Dan's back. He's gonna save us." Yeah, but this is the first time I think they respect him when they say, to Boyle. And I think that's important. That's the first time they see him for who he really is at that moment.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
I think, as I said in the last episode I was on, for better or for worse, Oden is a very tragic, masculine, classical figure. Where all of his flaws and strengths are going to be, you kind of have to filter him through mythology, in order to get the full emotional impact of what he's doing. And I think that's kind of been him for this whole entire thing, where you kind of have to, when you figure out why you're exactly supposed to be sad about him, you have to figure out, what his character is going to be. What's the historical context for his character? That's kind of remained to this day, even though, admittedly, everyone in Wano saying his catchphrase, to be boiled, was Oden as a character finally hit me while reading the manga. I finally felt like he wasn't just a character that Oda was trying to win me over with, and I finally was like, "Oh, I get you what you're going with. Okay, good job. Yeah, Oda, I get you. I get it." With this chapter finally sunk in, all of hope and tragedy this character brought with. But I think a lot of it had to do. Yeah, I think a lot of it just has to do, or Oda himself has to do with the fact that he is a character thousands of years outside of any relatable modern manga or anime character. I also think that trying to look for something more of a simple win after Whole Cake Island, because I think with Whole Cake Island was so much of a, okay, this is a win, but how is it a win for Luffy and for Sanji and all that? How is it a win for the good guys? How is this a positive thing that they're leaving, rather than just, they survived Big Mom not smushing them to death? And I honestly kind of expected them to leave Whole Cake and go to Wano being like, okay, Whole Cake was Oda's story. Now he did one for him. Now he's going to do one for us.
Any other takes? I know we've done this in a somewhat unorthodox
There's one actually real quick thing I want to bring up, and that's Kaido, because we haven't really talked about him a lot during this chapter. Kaido actually being the one to kill him by shooting him between the eyes. The whole thing that we've gotten with Kaido is he keeps trying to kill himself. His whole thing when he first gets introduced, suicide. He's trying to kill himself in all these magnificent, legendary ways, jumping from sky islands, and then the rope breaks every time that he's almost hung. And thinking about Oden during this chapter and saying, I'm going to be the story that accompanies your drinks, just had me thinking a lot about every time that we've seen Kaido. And, we've seen Kaido's drunk. He's sitting there crying over sake, and you wonder sort of what the deeper meaning is behind those tears. And on one end, he just sort of wants to end it all by this point, but on another end, it's like, well, if you think about how all the quote unquote good characters of One Piece have gone, right? You've got the legendary figures. You've got Roger announcing, the One Piece and starting off the great pirate era. You've got Whitebeard dying at Marineford saying One Piece exists and never showing a coward's injury. Even Noland, I think, to some extent, right? Because Noland is seen by the rest of the world as sort of this fool, but in reality, to the people who it actually matters to, he was this legendary type of figure. And I think like Oden sort of falls with them, where their deaths have become become legend. And I think Kaido's whole thing, and the thing I'm interested to see whenever Kaido does eventually get killed, is going to be, Kaido doesn't get that epic death. Kaido doesn't become a legend. How do you want to be remembered? It's when you're forgotten. That's when you actually die. And if Kaido just goes out, in some, obviously his death will probably be epic if we get a death of Kaido, but I think it'll be more epic for the person killing him than Kaido himself. Whereas Oden's death has become legend. I think Kaido's death will become legend for whoever is the one who ends up killing him.
Yeah. I know that is, I do not know your first name in real life in Roger's base.
My first name in real life is Roger, and my last name, I swear to God, is D, capital D, I'm Luigi. So yeah, I was born to do Nintendo and One Piece stuff. It's my thing.
Dope, hell yeah. I did this like Twitter that a little while ago, and that's so yeah. I'm glad you brought this up, because like okay, so like Roger or Kaido, Kaido right now is straight up like Jack Nicholson in the fact that he has watched like every single person from his era die or get like a glorious send-off. And so Kaido right now is like he's the most powerful guy alive. Yeah, okay. He's sitting on his island. He's drinking himself, can't seem to die, and everyone else, like as you said, Oden got his awesome death. Whitebeard got his awesome death. Shanks is still out there. Shanks is like the only guy who's like barely a part of his like or part of his timeline or a part of his like golden age that is still alive. Roger died. Everyone else is still there. Everyone else got their glorious death except for Kaido. And Kaido is just like a weird, sad alcoholic.
And I think he doesn't deserve one, like after every bad thing that Kaido's done, it's like that's his punishment, right? His punishment is that he's not going to go down as legend.
He wants his glorious death. He wants the the One Piece does exist. Oh, I will start the next great era of pirates, because he was around everybody that died that way. And everybody who's still around from that way, like Big Mom is still around. Big Mom would kill him if she got the chance. Like that kind of thing.
Right.
She's still around. He wants that kind of death, but his whole depression is the best around the fact that like he will never get that glorious death that he feels like he's earned.
I just realized Kaido would play dodgeball the same way I would. And this is how you play dodgeball like Kaido, is you hold the ball and you hide behind everyone else and you let them all get beaten first, and then if it just comes, you just bounce the ball off. And you might not your team is going to lose, but you will be the last one there.
Standing, totally.
You standing.
Yeah.
And
you become the most powerful by default.
Default. The two greatest words in the English language, as Homer Simpson once said. He is opportunistic. And he's opportunistic to the bone. It's not even that he does kind of keep his word, definitely more than Orochi. He's not like a sniveling, coward in the way that Orochi or Spandam are. But he also, if someone's going to knock your opponent in the back of the head, he's going to take him to prison and, boil him in a pot of Oden. So he'll take the opportunity when it's given to him. It's a really interesting and very different look at a villain who looks just like unbeatable and huge.
Right.
And buff and like what I don't want to go against that guy. Oh no, but he'll kick you in the balls and then he'll beat you, and that's how it's gonna work. Steve,
will
say something?
Will Kaido die in this
that's
series?
Also a good question.
I think
yes.
Since we were introduced to him in a chapter that's called Suicide, and we see that he has a desire for it. And I've said this before on the podcast, but that establishes him as a character that can die. Does he need to die? If Blackbeard needs to assume the role of last boss, then the best way to accomplish that is to swoop in and to kill him after he's been morally defeated by Luffy and such and team. That I don't know if the recent events at Hachinosu set that up particularly, I mean, we do have the setup that someone like Moria could be involved here, getting his revenge, and then what other way is if Moria is a part of Blackbeard's crew, and if Moria does sneak in and do it, then how does his name end? It ends up being killed by a lowly Shichibukai, a former lowly Shichibukai, who people thought was even dead, and if he's a part of Blackbeard's crew at this point, well, then that claims Blackbeard as the killer, as the victor, as he beat him, and Kaido's name is kind of mud after that. Does he deserve that? I don't know yet. We don't know enough about him. We don't even know why he's creating all these weapons, why he's spreading them throughout the land, or why
and his relation with Wano.
Well,
yeah.
He stated in the past that he wants to start a war to engulf the entire world to hopefully die. I think that's
I also think it's fascinating that still after all this time, we don't have really his devil fruit revealed. We know, we can assume, but we have never seen the actual name of his devil fruit. And I still think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think even though like we've gotten like a little bit of the backstory on like Rocks and stuff where he and Big Mom were kind of the crew, I think Kaido stands out particularly as like, if Kaido dies, that doesn't mean that, we need to get rid of Big Mom to get like the end of this huge One Piece theme. I think Big Mom kind of stands apart from Kaido in the fact that like, I don't think relevant is the right word, but I think Big Mom has a kind of more, or Kaido has a kind of more of a will to die than Big Mom does. I think Big Mom has more relevance in the presence than Kaido does. I think Kaido is like kind of the final link between Luffy and the Straw Hats and whatever becoming like, this is the real era now. This is their big thing. This is where they're, this is the fight for now rather than the fight to like kind of like settle all the grudges that happened in the past. I think Kaido kind of stops there, if that makes any sense.
I think, well, kind of jumping off that, talking about Mom and Kaido and how Oda has been portraying their strength so far, is it was very important to the story from this point on when Oda depicted the two of them battling for, what was it, like overnight? I think they battled for the full night or something.
Yeah.
The fact that there was not a clear victor there is to show us, and fans can make their theories however they want, is, they weren't in this condition, or Mom wasn't raging, or blah. That's all fine. Oda doesn't care about any of that stuff. But the point is that the two could go head to head and stay on equal terms for a very long time. So the point of that is, if and when Kaido does die, is to keep the threat of Big Mom as being something just as threatening, especially given the right conditions. And I don't feel that Luffy is going to, go through every single, warlord. Or I should say, I don't feel that Luffy needs to thematically. However, the point would be is if we do go to like an Elbaf, to keep her as a threat on par with Kaido in the right scenario. And I thought it was very clever of Oda to depict the two of them being on equal terms that way. I don't really have anything to add to that, more beyond that, or infer, but it was just a very clever technique to utilize his characters, given their geographic position, to set up something for later to make sure that she remains a threat, even if Kaido is removed as one.
Any other thoughts on the chapter, guys?
No,
I think we've set a record here.
Yeah, this might
Have
be
we?
a record.
I think our discussion was longer than the recap.
I was about to agree with Greg was the fact that like I think it's if Oda is trying to keep Big Mom like consistently in the background, like maintain her power level, for lack of a better, to like add an internet phrase with it, a power level. I think that's very cool. because it keeps someone like, because you obviously have people from pre-time skip who like Doflamingo and stuff that you introduced back then. You're like, oh, this person, they're kind of powerful, huh? And then you beat them in post-time skip, but you haven't really had anyone that's been introduced in post-time skip that's been a threat throughout post-time skip. And having Big Mom be a character like that, I think it's kind of cool story-wise. I'm down with that.
One last little thematic thing I just want to point out too, and I know Greg's been on this train for a long time, so and I'm like back and forth on whether or not this is the case, but I still think he will be important to the downfall of Kaido. Is I just find it interesting on page 18, on the very bottom of the page, when Toki's going over that letter of Oden's, talking about how 20 years ahead of us, there's going to be these primary figures of the war that are going to muscle their way into the new world, and then you'll notice it says, in the box with Momonosuke and Hiyori lying asleep, they are the ones who can strike down Kaido. And then it goes into this thing about like the long winter settling over Wano country. And I feel like that's almost a little bit of a tell to be like, hey, don't forget, Momonosuke and Hiyori have a stake in this, and they will be important to the downfall of Kaido.
It's unquestionable. He must. Yeah. Momonosuke is a mini Luffy, and he declared to Luffy at Dressrosa, I think, when they landed there, that I'm going to be Shogun. How do you be Shogun? I mean, there are a number of ways, and I've been following each little step. How do you gain the heart of the people? How do you gain the heart of the aristocracy? And Oda has been setting each of those pieces up to allow Orochi and Kaido's tower to tumble, and include even the damn paper that's Luffy's face. The at this place in this time. That ends up being Luffy's face if you look at it the right way. That's going to be part of the message, that people know that Luffy was responsible, and who was with Luffy? Momonosuke, and that's why we learned Tsunachi. Tsunachi is going to be the final blow. It's going to take him down. That's why we've seen Momonosuke practicing this entire time. This is going to be a very important team up and takedown, because it's Luffy, Luffy, Taro, and Momonosuke, right? Take out the Taro, take out the Momo, put them together, Momo Taro. So this kombi is imperative to defeating Kaido.
Yeah.
Wow, you blew my mind with the Momo Taro thing. Never thought about that.
And it really interesting. I like Momonosuke and Hiyori, just the little we get of them, that they're the opposite sides of. I mean, you could even say Oden's personality. You have the emotion that he keeps within him is kind of represented by Momonosuke, not just on that page, but generally, I think Momonosuke, besides the creepy, pervy aspects of him in the past, is someone who I think wears his heart on his sleeve. And Hiyori, as we've seen her here, seems to be kind of, taking things easy as however old she is, It's really interesting stuff. And Greg, of course, as he usually does, wraps up the entire arc for us. So there's really no reason for us to continue. So you guys ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Boil. Oh, shit.
If you enjoyed this week's manga recap of chapter 972, I have a special surprise for you. We recorded for another hour with most of the crew, not the entire crew, discussing this week's chapter and its implications as a flashback story and our general thoughts. So if you want to listen to that, just subscribe to us for $5 and up on patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. This was completely supplemental. It was recorded after the main part of the show. We just got into a really long and in-depth discussion, so you could check that out. We also have a lot more on there, including exclusives. We recorded a 1-hour special Crewing Around episode, so check that out as well, where Steve, Ed, and I just go through a bunch of random questions that were submitted by patrons. That's all available. Patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. Also, the entire One Piece Podcast Goes to Japan documentary is available on there for $1 and up subscribers. That's the one that me and Greg recorded. And we interviewed editor of the show, the editor of the manga, director of the anime, Oda's homeroom teacher, middle school principal, I believe. So you can check that all out. It's available, patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. Let's get into the Piece Together segment. This is the
Piece
Boil.
together segment.
Thank you. Okay. I have learned that I can't get other people to finish my
Sandwiches.
perfect. Okay.
Sandwich.
This episode. Okay. Let's do some Ed, what do we call it? Who did I break? Just hear something.
Dispies. Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah.
Give it to us, Ed.
Sure. It looks like we got 3 questions. I hope I'm doing this right. First one is from Gitaxius, who says, "Hello, OPP. I loved the Kaido development this chapter. Feel like Oden's glorious and fulfilling death has definitely shaped Kaido's views on wanting to die himself. Also, random theory from outside this chapter that I haven't heard yet. If Shiryu is able to awaken his invisibility devil fruit, wouldn't he be able to make Blackbeard's ship and or crew invisible also? Would be a pretty impactful way to make a surprise entrance somewhere. Thanks for all the hard work that you do." That's Gitaxius.
Ooh. I like that theory. And it also fits in with the Blackbeard potentially killing Kaido theory if they sneak in on an invisible ship. Or if Absalom isn't there anymore. He's dead. Anyway, what's the next question? Unless anyone else has thoughts on it.
Does anyone else? Okay. Morgul says, "Hey, OPP crew. So I work with these 2 people named Frankie and Brooke, and every time I make a One Piece joke around them, they stare at me confusedly. Have any of you guys ever been acquainted with anyone who shared a name with a One Piece character? Do you joke about it with them?"
I work with a Frank that I call Frankie sometimes, and then I'm like, oh, wait. No.
I mean, my name's Roger, so.
I still have yet to meet a Hoikel.
Wow, deep cut. To be fair, when all the Roger stuff was happening, I'm like, Roger must be having a lot of that thing that you get in a Japanese anime where you sneeze when someone mentions your name.
Oh, yeah.
Are you talking to me? No. My son is also named Roger. I don't know, because there's a lot of there's some characters that are just named after, everyday people, like Mountain Whale Dick and Blue Jam. No, I don't think I've ever really associated anybody with a One Piece character yet.
I met a girl who went by Vivi in college, and nope, did not get it, not at all. Didn't.
While you mentioned Vivi, I also want to do a quick shout out to the current season of Terrace House. Vivi is probably one of the best people in the house this season. She infused a great, a sense of happiness and excitement into the house that was desperately needed. Actually, I like the entire current cast, but that's a whole separate discussion. So there you go.
My dogs are tangentially accidentally One Piece related. I have a Lucy and a Viv, who I call Vivi all the time. And she is attacking my face right now, so I apologize. But please continue. Which Steve has also happened to Steve.
Okay.
Ed.
Our last one from Straw Hat Pirate 9, who says, "And there is that great emotional payoff. My anger at Orochi and Kaido has hit critical mass. Once again, I really like Oden and Toki's relationship. I do wish Toki got more screen time, but I have hope that we may get one more mini flashback with her. Oda has to show us her proclaiming the curse to Orochi. I really need that. Thank you everyone for your diss piece."
Yeah, let me just see. I think we have one email. This one comes from Made to Boil. Weird name. Oden being boiled. I think this is from a little before the chapter. Oden being boiled early this week. So Steve, what do we have on the Reddit?
Reddit. Yeah.
Good job.
Our Reddit jingle. Our first one comes from ATLA for Life. Says, "Hey, OPP, what a chapter. In my opinion, a great ending for this flashback. I do think we will get back to Toki, but she'll probably have her own short flashback as we jump back and forth with the battle. How did you guys interpret Toki's words at the end of the chapter? Is she speaking to the audience when she says to look into the future? Because that's how I took it, but I was a little confused. Your thoughts,
She's talking
guys?"
to Oden, I think, in not directly to him, but in spirit. Right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just like looking into like nothing in particular and just making a vow, talking like a character in a comic where you often speak out loud the things you were thinking. So that's not a fun answer, but that's the one I have. Our next one comes from Sailor Karna. Can it be seen as Kaido showing Oden mercy and respect by being the one to shoot him, or is this misinterpretation? On one hand, Oden was injured heavily by the burning oil and would not have survived for long. Also, being killed by Orochi would have been worse. However, Kaido shot him before he could finish his motto, and it was a headshot. Part of me wants to believe that Kaido has a tiny bit of honor of at least humanity. But one thing for sure is this will be dragged out in the anime. Well, I won't deny that, but I think Kaido has a bit of sense of honor because I honestly think his life flashed before his eyes when fighting Oden, and then for Oden to be taken out with a cheap shot with the old hag, and that drove Kaido to offer. Yeah, I'd say there's a little bit of honor there, but he's still a bad guy.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, Orochi is still like pretty clueless. Like he's still kind of a loud idiot, no matter what. Even how conniving and like full of like subterfuge he gets, I think he's still someone that has no he doesn't really get how to do anything dramatically or whatever. Yeah. But Kaido is definitely someone that's like, oh, he's doing his catchphrase, "Pow." Okay. I think that's definitely worth saying is that Kaido is someone that would cut you off midway through your catchphrase, and Orochi is someone that would like let you go on like 4 lines after not realizing that, oh, his catchphrase is not done yet. Okay. I pow. I maybe. Okay, pow.
I mean, I think their relationship is very similar to Spandam and Lucci in that Orochi and Spandam are both the sniveling, ignorant, awful, hell-bent on just doing, causing chaos and having their most base desires fulfilled. While Kaido and Lucci was just doing his damn job, or trying to. Not a good or righteous job, but what he thought was. And he is bloodthirsty as hell. But so is Kaido, and Kaido has his own agenda, I assume. But as I said, I think he is the opportunistic guy, while Orochi is the guy who would kick you in the balls during dodgeball, like the actual human balls. Steve, next question.
Sure. Next one is from Falcon Gales. How literal should we take the last panel about moving toward the present? Does that mean next week we just go back to the scabbards on the beach, or will we see Luffy and the crew? Or might there be another interlude piece where we check in on the revolutionaries or Fishman Island? Also, I just want to say the anime has been exciting me a lot, and I can't wait to see King Sabotage Big Mom this weekend. King Sabotage. Who's King?
King.
That's the character.
Oh, King Sabotage Big Mom. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
in the anime.
His name was
week.
King.
Yes.
Wait, you thought the guy's name was King Sabotage?
I was about to say, no, I was about to say,
It's
did
a
your
wrestler's
phone?
name.
Did your phone
That's such a good rapper name.
I was just I was just gonna ask if your phone auto-corrected Soba Mask for some reason, but
I think that's going to be this week too.
King Sabotage.
King Sabotage. Yeah. The anime has been really good, I think, too.
The voices in particular are like incredible. I did not expect that for Orochi. Yeah. Well, I thought he was going to have like some weird sniveling voice, and then when you get that little bit where he goes, Komurasaki, it's like, woo, okay, Orochi, I'm liking what you're putting down.
I was going to say, we were talking about in the break, about Spandam and how everyone except for Maddie really loves Spandam as a villain. And by loves, I mean loves to hate. I mean, he is a despicable guy to the core. And I think Orochi is also like that, where I think he is a great villain because he is a sniveling, awful human being in every sense of the word.
Completely
agree. I'm behind on the anime. Orochi has purple hair.
It's like magenta almost. Yeah.
God, does that mean
it's Wano?
Does that mean
everyone's got to have purple hair?
Does that mean I have to sort of like him now?
Yo,
do you have like for purple hair, Steve?
I got purple hair.
Gotta have purple hair. Anyway, yeah.
To be fair, if I'm gonna try to knock you off a waterfall, you ain't gonna dodge. See me, Queen and Jack, King Sabotage.
Nice. Wow.
Wow.
If I could drop a bar here, to be fair, purple hair.
delete all of it.
No, write that all down.
I believe this in.
All right. Next one is from Mabe-chan. Good day, OPP. New fan here. Been consuming OPP for some time now.
Welcome.
Down with OPP.
And I'm enjoying every minute of it. It's like having friends that you talk every week about the thing you like. Oden's flashback has been a roller coaster ride to me, seeing Whitebeard and Roger in their prime. The tragedy of the Wano country and the hope of the future is fascinating. And now I'm excited about what's going to happen next. So for my random questions, if 3 One Piece characters decide to retire from piracy or being a Marine and decide to do a podcast through specialized transponder sales, who will be in it and what's the title?
Whoa.
And they have another question. Well, let's see if we can get through this one first. All right, 3 One Piece characters retire and they do a podcast. My immediate thoughts were Garp, Sengoku, and Suru.
Well, we already determined that Bartolomeo would be a YouTuber.
For
100%.
sure. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's his own man, first off. He's not going to discuss anything with everyone. He is the obvious man who knows everything about Luffy and the Straw Hats.
Let's have...
now that I'm thinking about it, Cavendish should probably be a YouTuber too. He'd be like a makeup YouTuber or something.
Yeah. I think we had a question asking... We had a question asking,
maybe not a YouTuber. He'd be an Instagram person for sure.
He would. Yeah. I think we had a question about like what kind of YouTuber each one would be. Yeah.
Let's have Captain Kuro. Let's have Captain Kuro, Don Krieg, and Arlong host a podcast called "Where You Been."
No, to be fair, if Kuro would definitely do like an NPR economics podcast about like how to set up a 401k by slowly stealing someone's money.
I'm all about a Garp and Sengoku podcast, and like every 10 minutes, so like Helmuppo, are we still recording? What does the light mean? What are we? How are we doing? What are we? Is this still recording?
It's a podcast.
They'd be eating crackers loudly the entire time.
The whole time. Yeah, everything would like, hey, this is the what? Garp, shut up, Helmuppo. What are we doing? Are we recording? Like, that would be the whole podcast.
I would
turn
totally.
my headphones up.
I'd listen to a podcast. I'd listen to a podcast with Garp, Dalmatian, and then like the mascot would be Choo Choo, and it would be about dogs.
Oh yeah, I forgot Garp even wore that hat because it was so brief. Yeah, you're right. All the dogs in One Piece and Dogstorm.
Of course, Inuarashi. Okay, I take back what I said. It would be Inuarashi. It would be Inuarashi. He'd step down from the dukedom. Inuarashi, Garp, and it would be Dalmatian. And then, but Choo Choo would still be the mascot for sure. And they would call it. What would they call it? Like Puppy Love or Puppy?
No, it would be Dog Day Podternoon. I got it. That's perfect.
Back to the drawing board, Zach. Ed, when we finally find the One Piece, I want Chef Zeph to do a shoot interview where he just talks about his ventures on the Grand Line. You can finally talk about it.
Is like this old man.
All right, what's the next question?
Does Whitebeard have a big dick?
Huh?
How big is Whitebeard's dick?
How big is Whitebeard's dick?
9 inches.
And we're down to this. How many hours does it take?
We're like
for
3
us to
hours
talk
in,
about
right?
They
I
had
don't know.
they had a second question, but the show's running late, so Mabi,
Well,
feel
we
free
also
to,
we did
Yeah.
record our crewing around right before this, so it might just feel like it's been
Yeah.
a lot longer.
but no, thank you so much for being a new listener. I'm glad we feel like friends, but make sure you go out there and seek some friends that are also into One Piece. Don't rely on us.
Steve.
Jesus.
I'm glad we're friends, but find new friends.
No, I'm saying like find some friends out there,
Steve, did you
that
just
could talk
dump
to in
this person?
No, I'm just suggesting don't rely on us because I just made a joke about Whitebeard's dick. So
Okay, well,
don't hold
we'll
us to
all
this
be
standard.
your friends. Everyone but Steve will be your friend.
Hey,
It's
we're
fine.
friends, but like, don't get too crazy.
And I don't want you talking to me anymore.
What's the next question, Steve?
Hockey Scooch asks, guys, would it be possible that Luffy can be the ancient weapon Uranus, Zeus, or Joy Boy? I think some way, somehow they are all connected. For instance, Joy Boy has the power of Uranus inside, but couldn't use it properly. So he had to sacrifice himself so that the will of him would pass on, but it had to take 800 years for him to be reincarnated. Now Luffy is beginning to start to reactivate Uranus and become Joy Boy. Pluton, aka Hades, aka Blackbeard, / Poseidon, aka Shirahoshi, / Uranus, aka Luffy Joy Boy. Oh, so you're saying that like Blackbeard is Hades, Shirahoshi is Poseidon, and Uranus is Luffy.
I think I got it, but I think more than anything else, I would say the most likely thing is that Luffy is the next Joy Boy, right? Because the way it was set up in that flashback is that there'd be two, and we already know about Shirahoshi, and the other one that makes sense is Luffy. But as to what Joy Boy means,
he's a boy.
He is a boy, and he's got joy, exactly. But as to what that means, or like what that title even signifies, I'm sure we're a ways off from that.
I'll say this:
I don't know.
I don't want it to be as literal as Joy Boy was reincarnated as Luffy. I just want
I don't either.
I want Luffy to be the guy that fulfills this prophecy. I don't want him to be like, it's just Joy Boy is now in the body of Luffy. I don't want that. That's hack.
Yeah. Every single time I like see a theater that's like, Joy Boy is Luffy, it's all like Luffy's a joyous boy. Like, okay, well, cool, I guess. That sounds good.
Doggy Storm.
Yeah, it always seems like it always seems like a cop, like not like a cop out, but like a day before you're supposed to turn in the essay kind of thing. I don't know. It doesn't feel good to me.
All right.
Yeah.
Grand Reboot says, I wonder if Kaido got his obsession with death thanks to these events. Also, I wonder if we can make a parallel with Kaido and Whitebeard here, since Whitebeard did a similar test to Oden when he was told to hang on to the chain of the ship for days. I wonder what you all think of both these ideas. I think what you said first with Kaido's obsession with death, I think that's relating to what I said earlier in the podcast. So it was something that we discussed. I don't think it was necessarily me. It was a discussion. In terms of parallels with Kaido testing Oden, I wouldn't say like having Oden boiling for the amount of time was necessarily intentionally a test by Kaido. Maybe more so it wound up, it showed what kind of man Oden was to Kaido. I think it was unintentionally a test, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. Nivers says, is the Wano spy Bonnie or Luffy's mom? But seriously, is it possible that one of the Akazaya 9 or Shinobu in the present day is an imposter and leaked the information to Orochi, or the Wano spy has Corazone's devil fruit, the Comcom fruit?
They don't have the face fruit anymore because that person's dead.
Let's step back, Ed. Let's step back. First
Okay.
off, Bonnie is Luffy's mom, obviously. Secondly,
Okay.
of course that's who the spy is. I mean, okay, we're done, right? I mean, that's all.
I'm gonna bring something up that might make a couple people mad, but I'm just gonna say this right now. Is I think there was a brief time of about like maybe 20 to 25 chapters where I cared, and I don't care anymore. And this exact same
About the
thing
spy?
happened in My Hero Academia. Yeah. And now it's just been too long and I don't give a shit at all. Like I truly
Yeah,
don't care. It's like of
I am
all the
with you.
revelations now in Wano country, of all the things we still need to know about like where Toki went and like what Kaido's motivations are, like that's all far more interesting to me. And I think again, for a brief time, I was really into it. And I think there was a moment there like 4 or 5 chapters ago where I thought it was going to go in that direction. I'm like, okay, we're getting an answer. And then when we didn't, now I'm like, I don't care. And it's like truly beyond the point of me caring.
But you know, when we do get an answer, I
That'll be
have
cool.
faith in Oda that it'll be cool and satisfying,
Sure,
and
for
then I
sure.
will care. at
Completely.
that point.
Completely.
But it's
For My Hero, you're talking about the mole in
That
UA.
too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's like this has been happening a lot with Shonen Jump manga where you've got like this character who's a spy or a traitor or who could it possibly be? And the discussions have just gone on for like way too long, I felt like, when there's so many
I
other
mean-
interesting things going on.
let's say it's like, I'm just gonna throw names out there. Like, let's say it's Conjuro or Rizo or someone like
Sure,
obviously that we have some connection to.
Sure.
I think that would be enough to, if he makes it work in the story,
Sure.
that will be enough to bring the emotion and impact to it. But with the, for me, like something like that, I agree with you. What's the point of obsessing over it? Just have faith that it'll happen, because I don't have enough information to put that together. Only that there definitely is one. They basically said it, and by basically, I mean they have.
I mean, they said it as far back as Zoe, you know. So I mean, we've been waiting on this for a while.
Man, trying to figure out like if like hanging on every one of like Kinemon's word of like trying to see if he is like the surprise trader is like the easiest way to like not enjoy anything that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like
every single once in a every once in a while I think like oh yeah, like somebody's supposed to be like the traitor here.
Right.
I wonder who it is. And so I watch like, is Shinobu like she went there first, so maybe she knows the place to go to or whatever. And
I was never on that train with Shinobu.
It's so like the betrayal aspect. It's kind of like the My Hero Academia thing we talked about. We're like, which one is like the evil spy of the children or whatever.
Right.
And it's such
no time for that. We got to see how the villains are like. They all think of each other as friends, and they're a family too.
Right.
We gotta figure out which we gotta figure out which villain is.
Yeah,
we gotta figure out which villain is thematically the same as every other villain. I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things that like gets introduced, and you just kind of gotta like let yourself be like, okay, this will happen eventually, but if you obsess over it, you're gonna miss every other dramatic reveal in this whole fucking arc.
Yeah.
So well said. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anything else on Reddit, Steve?
One more from Nami Robin 69. Nice. There was an 18+ chapter of Chainsaw Man this week. Will we ever get an 18+ chapter of One Piece? Allow me to respond to this by saying, don't you masturbate enough?
Oh, I thought you meant like 18 pages.
Don't you masturbate enough needs to be the title of this episode.
No.
Was Chainsaw Man actually plus 18 pages?
I don't know.
I'm looking right now.
Sorry, when your name
18.
is Nami Robin 69 and you're talking about 18
so
plus.
Actually, yes, it was. It was 19 pages.
So if you're asking for a 19-page chapter of One Piece, but
he hasn't done that in a while. He hasn't done that in a while, guys. So probably not. I mean, he's trying to take it easy now. So obviously not. Ed, it's time to
Piece the tweet. Yeah. It's time to.
What do we got this week?
Yeah, time to piece the tweet. First one comes from Kendra, who was on the show last week. Says, "R.I.P. Aunt Clay, off-screened." LOL. I wonder if Kaido will kill off Barrier Man as he makes it too easy. Well, he's got to. That fruit's got to free up somehow.
Maybe the weakness to the barrier fruit is that you have to be off screen, so he can't use it.
I want the barrier guy to go to the Oden pot and be like, well, someone's got to clean up this mess, and whoop, and slips
Just
in.
falls in. That would be so funny.
I would love that to just be a recurring thing, because that's what that other guy did at the last chapter. Just people keep slipping into the pot.
Will you? Whoop.
It's like a Monty Python sketch.
All right, adult baby Yoda says Kaido said he killed.
That name is great.
Good. Kaido said he killed the old hag, but who even is that? Aunt Clay? Is he promising to kill Toki? I think we all think it's Aunt Clay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right, next one comes from Nick Fridge, who says, I've got a wild theory that I've been thinking of recently. What if the Void Century that happened 800 years ago is actually this century? What if Luffy actually is Joy Boy and time somehow looped after he made it to Laugh Track? Okay. Well, this is like...
Look, I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy, but that's too crazy.
Where's the frozen donkey wheel?
No, oh God, I forgot that happened. I hate that season? I hate that season. Season 5. I don't like that season. They go to 1970 something for some reason. I don't get it.
Oh man, I love gold memory.
What season of what?
Lost.
Season 5 of Lost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Season 1 through 4 I love to death, and then it just then you hit the crap button. Anyway, yeah, I don't that's too much. In my opinion.
All right. Next one comes from Patrick Rizzolo, who says, do you think the reason why suicide is Kaido's hobby is because Oden was the only one who came close to killing him, and for someone as seemingly invincible as Kaido, he never forgot that feeling?
That seems to be a popular theory today. I think that's like the third or fourth person who's mentioned that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Archcool says, if other One Piece characters had Oden's born to boil phrase, what would they be? Basically, I mean, I am blank and I was born to blank. Any other One Piece character?
I asked a similar question, which is, imagine if you had to die in the same way that your name prescribed in the One Piece world. Like, I am oven. I was born to be cooked. And then dying in some sort of oven. I'm trying to think of other situations where that would be funny. Or I am cracker. I was born to be eaten by a parrot was my other one.
My name is I was born to be smoked. That doesn't work.
I am crocodile. I was born to be turned into a handbag.
Or shoes.
That's good.
I actually saw a pair of alligator boots where the snout was like the toe. It was pretty good.
Ooh, that's a little bit much.
Banana.
My name is
even better.
I'm baby 5, and I was born to be killed by 5 babies.
No. It's my name is Baby 5, and I was born 5 times.
Oh man. Okay.
My name is Monkey D. Luffy, and I are not great. Not really.
All right, let's move on.
Woof.
Mike Morris writes in to say he just thinks that Oden's smile looks like the letter D. So it's fun to point that out.
Yeah, we got a lot of those too. I like crazy theories, but I think that's a little too much. But I don't know. I've been wrong a lot.
Right. Dr. Simidoku writes in with a question about pacing. I think we talked about that a lot with Greg during the manga recap.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, 91 Ryan says, I can't decide who is more interesting in the latest chapter, Oden or Kaido. And he also says Kosuke Oden could stand in a pit of boiling oil and hold up 9 men for a straight hour without tiring. He is, he's a boss.
That's it?
Yeah. Well, who do you think was more interesting, Oden or Kaido, I guess was his first question.
Oh, well, Kaido is still more enigmatic, which is sometimes makes you more interesting, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a more interesting person.
Yeah.
I like Oden.
Me too.
Yeah. Oden.
He's swell.
Okay, that'll do it. Let's round off.
All right.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 609 for February 23rd. Dan, how could the good people out there contact you?
Yo, if you're a fan of One Piece and a fan of me, great job. Excellent taste. You can find me on Twitter at DanDoc, DanDock. And you can also read me on Crunchyroll. If you see an article about One Piece there that looks particularly wild, I probably wrote it. Yeah. So there you go. Have fun.
Okay. And Roger, where can people find you?
Sure, you can find me at Rogers Base, ROGRSBASE, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, and on Instagram. I stream weekly on Twitch, a variety of different games. Animal Crossing is coming out very soon, as well as Pirate Warriors 4. So if you want to play either of those things, I highly recommend checking out my Twitch. And I do reviews and live reactions to each new manga chapter every day it gets released. This week it was Friday, but normally it is on Sundays at around 1 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're interested in that, definitely go check that out. And I've got a couple other really fun little One Piece, Demon Slayer, and Hunter x Hunter videos coming in the next month or so. So if you're excited about any of that, definitely check out my YouTube channel.
Steve, where can people find you?
You could find me on Twitter and Instagram. Steve Yurko is my name and the username. Listen to me on other podcasts. Listen to me on The Deep End. Listen to me on TuneSweet, and also check out Duncanville, now airing on Fox and on Hulu the following day. My episode actually airs, well, I don't know if this episode comes out on a Sunday. Yeah, like today. So February 23rd, my first episode, Duncanville, airs. So be sure to check it out on Fox or Hulu.
Yeah, it's probably on Hulu right now then, if you're listening to this. Ed, where could the good people out there contact us?
All right, well, you are Zach_Logan on Twitter. I'm Edward E. One Piece. I'm also at Weeb Trailers. Check them out. The podcast can be found at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Please support us there. Get a new episode of Crewing Around that we recorded right before we did this. Let's see. One Piece Podcast also our Skype name. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, subscribe on Spotify. You can subscribe on iHeartRadio now. That's right, Zach?
That's right. You remember.
All right. Yes, I did. All right. And so you can also subscribe on Apple Podcasts and call us on our phone number, Zach.
That phone number is 347-497
Maji.
Sorry, I could get it this time. Maji. 347-497-6254.
Boil anytime.
Boil anytime. Thank you. With your
Nice.
questions, comments, theories, and recipes. Thank you all for coming on. Let's do a super quick trivia since we have been recording forever. Let's do something very slightly similar but different.
Okay.
Bigger
Please,
but smaller.
Wow, jeez, Ed.
this is what we're going to
Same.
do.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the 9 red scabbards. You're going to
Dope.
name them all. And that's pretty easy to do generally,
Yeah.
but with a little
Maybe.
twist on it, you guys have to name them in order.
No.
Of when they have appeared in this flashback.
Fuck.
Got it?
Oh.
Got it. Just the 9 red scabbards. Okay, got it? We're going to go, so this is like somewhat cooperative. We're going to go in order here. And if someone doesn't get it in the correct order, they're out. So you ready? Everyone?
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's going to go Ed, Roger, Steve, and Dan. Ed, who did we see first?
Kinemon.
Correct. Who did we see second? Roger.
I want to say Denjiro.
Correct.
Oh,
Steve.
nice. Good.
This work gets more difficult. Who did we see third?
Because on the more I talk about it, it's let's say Kiku.
Yes.
Hmm.
Good job. That I thought was one of the harder ones. Dan, number 4.
I'm going to get this right. So, Rizo.
No, not Rizo.
Kick me off the podcast. Bye, y'all.
Okay. Ed.
Later.
Ashura Doji.
No.
No?
Roger.
I want to say Kawamatsu.
No.
What?
Steve.
Raizo.
That was said already.
Oh, well, I thought we were going in order. I thought
Yeah,
we were...
but has gotten the fourth one yet.
Is it
And someone
Conjuro?
said Raizo.
Well,
It is
I did.
Conjuro.
Oh,
It's Conjuro. It's Conjuro.
It is Conjuro.
oh,
Yeah, I'll give it to Ed there.
that little freak.
Does anyone want to say who comes after Conjuro?
Raizo.
Yeah, who comes after Raizo?
Ashura Doji.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it would be, because then it would be Kawamatsu and Urashi and Nekomamushi.
Right, those are the last three.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's it.
I almost.
I'll give it to
Thank
Ed.
God I said Okiku because I was almost going to say what was the dum dum that's on Whitebeard's crew?
Izo.
Yeah.
So,
Izo. Yeah.
well, yeah, Izo's not one of the 9
Oh, yeah,
because yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to criticize what I thought of Izo lately. I'm like, what a schmuck. He's just like, it's just like he joins Whitebeard's crew to follow Oden. He's like, I like it here better now. I don't know. I kind of wish Izo was not from Wano.
I think it would be interesting if Izo comes back now, since
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah, I was just about to
Yeah.
say that if Izo shows up with Cat Viper.
well, because Marco.
Well, yeah,
and
he
Cat
probably
Viper,
would with
yeah.
Marco and the rest of the Whitebeard pirates. Yeah.
There's no reason if he doesn't, I would be extremely disappointed.
Izo
Because-
reuniting with Kiku. We need it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
come on, yeah.
Sorry, I take back what
especially
I
after
said.
this flashback. Yeah.
Izo, if you don't show up, you're
Whitebeard is very personable. You just want to follow him. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll be back, hopefully, with another chapter and everything. But until then, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
My name is Steve.
We'll see everyone next week. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
To boil.